Hi everyone, it's Amy again. Thank you for joining me for another story time. Today we'll be reading R is for Russia. So we'll be going through each letter of the alphabet and learning a little bit about Russian culture. Speaking of Russian culture, it's a little cold and rainy today, so I have on my Passad shawl, which begins with the letter P. This shawl is a wool shawl made in a very specific region in Russia, and it always features this beautiful floral pattern. And I also have with me my cup of tea. R is for Russia. A is for astronaut. Russia was the first country in the world to send a human being into space. In April 1961, Yuri Gagarin made his first record-breaking flight on board the spaceship Vostok 1. He spent 108 minutes in space and orbited the Earth once. The first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova in June 1963 on the spaceship Vostok 6. She was in space for nearly 3 days and orbited the Earth 48 times. B is for ballet. Russia's most famous classical ballets are Swan Lake, The Nutcracker, and The Sleeping Beauty, all with music by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Our ballet schools teach children from age 5 right up to 18. They dance alongside adults in theater performances. C is for chess, a popular game with both adults and children. Some of the greatest world chess champions are Russian. During the summer, you will see people sitting outside and playing chess in parks and gardens throughout the country. Many children belong to chess clubs and take part in tournaments. D is for dacha, or country cottage. Most of us live in towns, but we love to spend time at our dacha. Often it doesn't have running water, so we have to fetch water from the well or village pump. Out in the garden, we grow fruit and vegetables. E is for Easter eggs. We celebrate Easter by giving each other eggs, either real eggs dipped in dye or wooden eggs painted with flowers, churches, and colorful patterns. The jeweler Peter Fabergé created the most amazing Easter eggs for the Russian royal family, like the one below right. Made of gold and precious stones, it opens up to reveal a surprise inside. F is for fairy tales. Our favorite character is the witch Baba Yaga, who lives in a house built on chicken's legs and flies around in a pestle and mortar, terrifying people. Some of the best fairy tales were collected and written down by the poet Alexander Pushkin and illustrated by the artist Ivan Bilibin, like this picture illustrating an adventure of the Tsarevich, son of the Russian king. G is for gymnastics. Many Russian gymnasts have become Olympic champions. Promising young gymnasts go to classes at the Moscow Children's Palace of Culture and Sport and spend hours practicing their routines. Even if they don't end up as Olympic gymnasts, their gym lessons help them grow up fit and healthy. H is for hat. You will need one to keep you warm during the winter. We recommend a traditional shapka-ushanka with flaps that you can pull down over your ears in very cold weather. You will also need a thick coat and some warm boots. When you are snug and warm from top to toe, the Russian winter will hold no terrors for you. This one should be familiar to a lot of you. I is for icon, a religious portrait which you will see in churches and homes all over Russia. Some of them date back more than 600 years. They are usually painted on wood and show scenes from the Bible or the lives of saints. Our most precious icons have ornamental metal covers and are sometimes studded with jewels. J is for journey. Russia is so vast that if you want to visit another town, you will probably have to make a long journey. The Trans-Siberian Railway from Moscow to Vladivostok, a journey of over 9,000 kilometers, lasts 6 days and takes you through amazing changes of scenery. Your train compartment becomes your sitting room, and at night you are lulled to sleep by the gentle rocking of the train. K is for Kremlin or fortress. Our most famous Kremlin is in Moscow, where the government meets. Inside, you will see some wonderful churches and cathedrals, as well as the armory, full of weapons and jewelry of Russia's rulers who once lived inside the Kremlin. L is for Lake Baikal, the Pearl of Siberia. The oldest, deepest, and clearest freshwater lake in the world, Baikal has over 300 different rivers flowing into it and one river, the Angara, flowing out again. The lake contains a huge variety of plants and animals, including a kind of seal found only in Baikal. In winter, the entire lake freezes. This should be another familiar one. M is for Matryoshka. Hidden one inside the other, this traditional set of wooden dolls is simple to take apart, but not so easy to put back together again. The dolls usually show a cheerful woman, but you can also buy matryoshki with the faces of famous people, such as politicians. N is for North. A huge area known as the tundra stretches up to the Arctic Ocean. The earth is frozen most of the year and the sea freezes in winter, making it ideal for skiing and sledging. Home to reindeer, bears, Arctic foxes, and polar bears, the region is always dark in winter and light in summer, when it is known as the land of the midnight sun. O is for Orthodox Church. The blue and gold domes of Russian Orthodox churches sparkle in the sunshine and their bells call people to prayer. Inside, the walls and ceilings are often painted with frescoes and hung with icons. On festival days, the priests and worshippers carry icons in procession around the church. P is for pancakes, eaten on special occasions such as Maslenitsa, when we celebrate the end of winter and coming of spring. For us, the shape of pancake symbolizes the sun. We like eating our pancakes with sour cream, melted butter, jam, or caviar. Q is for queen or Tsarista. We have not had a royal family since 1917, but once the Tsars and Tsaristas were important in our history. The most powerful Tsarista was Catherine II, also known as Catherine the Great, who sat on the Russian throne for over 30 years in the 18th century. She built some splendid palaces, among them the Catherine Palace outside of St. Petersburg. R is for Russia, the biggest country in the world. The Russian Federation stretches from the Baltic Sea in the west across Europe and Asia to the Pacific Ocean in the east, and from the Arctic Ocean in the north to the Black Sea in the south. Much of Russia is covered in forest and open spaces or steppes, but we also have mountains, deserts, rivers, and big cities, including our capital, Moscow. During her history of splendor, revolution, and change, Mother Russia has produced some of the greatest scientists, sportsmen, and women, writers, dancers, and composers in the world. S is for samovar. Fancy a cup of tea? Then we'll light the samovar. It keeps the water hot so that you can have tea whenever you like and make sure the tea doesn't get cold. There is a stand on top to hold the teapot. Lighting a samovar is not easy though. Many people now use electric samovars or kettles instead. T is for tiger. The Siberian tiger is the largest wild cat in the world and the most dangerous predator in eastern Russia. There are not many left, so there is a ban on hunting them. They feed on wild boar and deer and rarely attack humans. Seeing one of these beautiful wild animals is an experience you will never forget. U is for Underground Railway. The metros in Moscow and St. Petersburg are so beautifully decorated that walking through them is like being in a palace or museum. The walls and columns are often made of colored marble, and you will see paintings, mosaics, sculptures, and even glittering chandeliers hanging above some of the platforms. V is for Volga. The Volga is Europe's biggest river, rising in the Valdai Hills northwest of Moscow and flowing out to the Caspian Sea at Astrakhan. It was once an important trade route, and many major cities grew up along its banks. You can still travel along the Volga by steamship, but only in summer. For 3 months every year, most of the Volga is frozen. W is for the Winter Palace, a beautiful building in the heart of St. Petersburg, built for the Tsar and his family. One side stretches along the banks of the River Neva, while the other looks out onto the Palace Square and the Alexander Column. After the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Winter Palace became a museum and now houses one of the world's greatest art collections. X is for Khor, or choir. Children sometimes take part in recitals alongside adults, often dressed in traditional costume. They sing classical pieces, folk, and even pop songs. On festival days such as the May Day holiday, families will sit around the table after their meal and sing, accompanied by the guitar, piano, accordion, or traditional stringed instrument called the balalaika. Y is for youth club. Whatever you like doing, sport, dancing, sewing, crafts, you are sure to find others who share your interest at a youth club and could improve your skills there. Young people often go to the youth club after school, at the weekend, and during their school holidays. Z is for Zenit. If you are a football fan, you must have heard of Zenit. Together with its rival Dynamo, it is one of Russia's most popular football teams. Many young Russian footballers dream of playing for one or other of these two famous clubs. Thank you for joining me for R is Russia, and we'll see you next week.